Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we are talking about Cousins Maine Lobster.
Very exciting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is a business that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with.
Yeah, very popular. I mean, who doesn't love lobster?
Yeah, exactly. And especially for those who are fans of Shark Tank.
Yes.
So,
A very successful Shark Tank business.
oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's rewind the clock back to 2012.
Okay.
And we have our two founders.
Jim and Sabin.
Yes, Jim Silikas and Sabin Lomack.
Right.
And they're walking into the Shark Tank.
Uh-huh.
And they're looking for a pretty hefty investment,
They are.
$55,000.
For 5% of their company.
Yeah, so what does that value their business at?
So that values their business at $1.1 million.
$1.1 million
Pretty bold.
for a food truck.
For a food truck that had only been operating for a few months.
Yeah, and I mean, they're based out of Maine, and
Right.
this is in California.
Right.
So they've come all this way
Yes.
with their cooler and their lobster rolls.
Yeah, they really believed in their product.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at that point, they said they had done about $150,000 in sales.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of shows that they at least had something there.
For sure.
But were the sharks convinced?
Right. So the sharks were obviously intrigued by the idea of this, authentic Maine lobster roll.
Yeah.
But, some of them, like Mark Cuban,
Yeah.
had concerns about scalability.
Especially back in 2012, food trucks.
Yeah. They weren't as ubiquitous
Yeah.
as they are today.
It was really like kind of the beginning of
It was the beginning of the boom.
Yeah.
Food truck boom.
and like how do you make that national,
Exactly.
the food truck is great for like local business,
Yeah.
but how do you expand that to a national scale?
And of course, Kevin O'Leary had his usual concerns about
Valuation, yeah.
Mr. Wonderful.
Gotta love them.
Yes, always concerned about the numbers.
Yeah. But then there was Barbara Corcoran.
Yes.
Now, what was it about their pitch that resonated with her?
So I think what really drew Barbara in was, their passion, the
Yeah.
commitment to using authentic Maine lobster,
Yeah.
and this really compelling story of, family heritage.
Yeah, the whole like cousin thing.
Yeah, cousins from Maine.
Yeah, and that I think is what kind of separated them from just another food truck.
Yeah, they had a story to tell.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the food, it was about the experience.
Exactly.
So she saw the potential there.
She did, and she's really good at spotting those trends
Yes, very much so.
and kind of, seeing what could be the next big thing.
Yeah, so she decides to make a deal.
She does, but it's not for the 5%
Now,
that they initially offered.
she counters with,
15%.
okay, so that's triple
Triple. Yeah.
what they were initially asking
So
for.
that was a big decision for them,
Yeah, because that dilutes their equity quite a bit.
for sure.
So that had to be a tough choice for them to make.
Yeah, but I think in hindsight,
I think it worked out.
it probably worked out pretty well.
Yeah, so they accept the deal.
They do.
They're partnered with Barbara Corcoran,
Uh-huh.
and the episode airs.
The episode airs.
And that is when things really take off.
Yeah. So stay tuned
Yeah.
as we dive into the aftermath of
Yes.
that Shark Tank appearance and all the craziness
The craziness that ensued.
that ensued, yes.
Okay, so the episode airs,
It does.
and what happens?
Well, the Cousins Maine Lobster website,
Yeah.
it crashes
Oh, wow.
because they got so much traffic
Oh, my God.
from people all over the country
Yeah.
seeing them on Shark Tank.
So they immediately were just flooded with orders.
Flooded.
So how do you handle that kind of, explosion of business?
Right. I mean, it's like the dream, but also can be a nightmare.
Yeah, you can get crushed by your own success.
Exactly. And I think that's where Barbara really came in and helped them.
Yeah, because that's one thing to get an investment,
Right.
but then it's like, okay, now how do we actually make this work?
Yeah.
And she really kind of,
She was very hands-on.
yeah, helped them figure out the business side of things.
Yeah. And scaling the business.
Yeah.
Wisely.
And I think one of the things that they really focused on was franchising.
Yeah.
And that seems to have been a really smart move.
Very smart. I mean, that's how you get that national reach.
Yeah.
Especially for a food truck business.
But franchising is tricky
It is.
because, you're essentially trusting other people.
With your brand,
Yeah, with your brand,
Yeah.
with your recipes.
your reputation.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that Cousins Maine Lobster did to ensure that the franchising was successful?
So they really focused on training and support
Huh.
for their franchisees.
So it wasn't just like, here's the recipe, good luck.
Yeah, exactly. They provided them with, manuals training,
Yeah.
ongoing guidance to really make sure that each location,
Yeah.
upheld their standards.
Maintain that quality.
Exactly.
Because that's so important, with a food business.
Yeah.
People
yeah.
expect consistency.
Consistency is
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, and I imagine that was particularly important when it came to sourcing the lobster
Oh, absolutely.
because, their whole brand is built around.
Authentic Maine lobster.
Yes.
So they had to make sure that they could get a consistent supply
Yeah.
of high quality lobster to all these different locations.
Did they have to build relationships with different suppliers?
Yeah, they had to work closely with suppliers back in Maine,
Okay.
and develop a really streamlined supply chain
Wow.
to get that lobster out to everyone.
So they were really thinking ahead,
Yes, sir.
planning for that growth and all the logistical challenges that would come with it.
For sure.
But it wasn't just franchising. They also expanded into retail.
Yes.
They've got the frozen lobster products now,
Uh-huh.
which I think is brilliant because that allows people to have that Cousins Maine Lobster experience
At home.
at home.
Yeah.
Even if they're not near a food truck
Exactly.
or a restaurant.
And they also have, the online store where they sell the lobster kits and other products.
So they really kind of created a multi-pronged approach.
Multi-pronged, exactly.
Yeah, to reach as many customers as possible.
Yeah.
And it's clearly working because by 2024, they have over 50 franchise locations.
Across the U.S.
Yeah, their revenue is over $50 million.
Wow.
And their estimated net worth is somewhere between 20 and 25 million.
That is impressive.
So it's amazing to see how far they've come.
Yeah, from that little food truck.
Yeah, with that cooler full of lobster.
Yeah, this Shark Tank.
To this, multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
empire.
Yeah.
And I think it really speaks to the power of having a great product,
Yes.
a compelling brand story,
Uh-huh.
and the right guidance.
The right partners.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about those three pillars
Yeah.
that really underpin their brand.
Yeah.
The authenticity, the storytelling, and the innovation.
We'll dive into that next.
All right. So we've talked about their growth,
Eh.
their success. But let's really dive into, what makes Cousins Maine Lobster special.
Yes.
Those three pillars you mentioned.
The three pillars.
Authenticity, storytelling, and innovation.
Yeah, those are key.
So let's start with authenticity. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like the heart and soul of their brand, right?
It really is. I mean, it's not just a buzzword for them.
Right.
It's baked into their DNA.
Yeah. And it all starts with the lobster.
Oh, absolutely.
They are adamant about sourcing their lobster
Directly from Maine.
directly from Maine.
Yeah, they won't compromise on that.
And why is that so important?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's about quality.
Okay.
Maine lobster is known for being
The best.
the best. Yeah, it's like the gold standard.
So they're not cutting corners.
No, they're getting the good stuff.
And they have those relationships with the fishermen.
Yes, long-standing relationships.
So they know they're
and
getting
the best of the best.
And I think that's something that customers really appreciate.
Oh, for sure.
They know that they're getting the real deal.
Yeah. It's like they're getting a taste of Maine.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they're, in the middle of Arizona.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the storytelling aspect.
Yes, because it's not just about the lobster, it's about the story.
Yeah, the whole Cousins from Maine thing.
Yeah, they've really crafted this narrative
Uh-huh.
around family and tradition.
Yeah, like the classic American dream kind of story.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that really resonates with people.
Oh, absolutely. People love a good story.
And they did such a good job of telling their story.
Especially on Shark Tank.
Oh, yeah. That was
I mean, that was captivating.
you're so genuine and passionate.
Yeah, you could really feel their love for Maine.
Yeah. And it wasn't just like a sales pitch.
No, it was like they were sharing a part of themselves.
Yeah. And I think that authenticity is what really won over Barbara.
And the viewers,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was rooting for them.
And that story continues today.
Oh, yeah. It's woven into everything they do.
Yeah, their marketing and their website.
Yeah. Their social media.
It's all about that family, that tradition.
That Maine heritage.
And then we have the innovation, which might seem kind of counterintuitive for a business that's so rooted in tradition.
Right. You'd think they'd just stick with what works.
Yeah, but they haven't.
No, they've been very smart about innovating.
Yeah, the franchising,
Uh-huh.
the retail expansion, the e-commerce,
They're not afraid to try new things.
but they've done it in a way that doesn't compromise their core values.
Exactly. They're still all about that authenticity and quality.
So it's like they've found that sweet spot.
Yeah, where they can grow and evolve,
Yeah.
but without losing sight of who they are.
And I think that's a really important lesson for any entrepreneur.
For sure, you can't just rest on your laurels.
You got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, you got to adapt and innovate.
But you also got to stay true to your roots.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Cousins Maine Lobster.
I've learned a lot.
Me too. And, it's inspiring to see how two cousins with a simple idea,
And a cooler full of
yeah,
lobster.
turned it into this amazing success story.
The American dream.
Yeah. So what's the big takeaway here for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that authenticity matters.
Yeah.
People can spot a fake from a mile away.
Especially these days.
Yes, so be genuine, be passionate about what you do.
And tell a good story.
Yeah, stories connect with people,
And don't be afraid to innovate.
but do it in a way that's true to your brand.
Excellent advice. I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Cousins Maine Lobster.
It's been fun.
Yeah, and we'll catch you on the next one.